Welcome back into the Paul Barron Show. Today we're going to be breaking down a lot of technology news, and of course, part of this will be tied toward Tesla. And I'll also get into a little bit about some of the things and predictions that we've made over the years on this very topic. As you guys know, I cover a lot around blockchain technology, crypto, of course, which we do a ton of analysis on that, but I also dive in deep on technology. And we've actually been doing that on our primary show, Tech Path, for many, many years. So if you haven't checked that out, go over to Paul Barron Network here on YouTube and you can find out all of our videos, including a lot of what we're going to be talking about today. The only difference was we did it 3 years ago. Let's jump in. I think you guys are going to love it. All right, so let's get into the topic for the day. And I just want to share my screen because I think sometimes people are not completely aware. This is the show where I do a lot of market updates. This is in general around our crypto and the stylings of what's happening in technology as a whole. And of course, blockchain is a big part of that. But today I want to dive in a little deeper on technology. And one of the topics, of course, that I want to get into is, of course, the issue with Tesla and robotaxi. Now, you've heard me talk about this quite a bit in some of my shows over on PBN. But one thing that you guys may not know is we actually did a full analysis on robotaxi almost 4 years ago. That's right. We did a full tech analysis on it, the analysis of what the revenue might look like. I'll share that with you guys in a minute. But right here is a little bit on what's happening in the market. And of course, this is everybody getting ready for the 1010 event. Bullish Tesla analysts now on expecting Musk's robotaxi today. This, of course, is Morgan Stanley. Let me kind of zoom in on that for you guys. Morgan Stanley, this is Adam Jonas, he offered up a little bit about what people could expect. And one of the things he's saying, what our guess is to be expected here is a demonstration of the latest iteration of FSD. Now, as you guys know, maybe not know, I drive a Cybertruck. We've got a Model S. We've been driving Teslas for many, many years and have tested FSD on almost everything all the way from beta. And driving in the current FSD in the Model S, I haven't received the FSD in the Cybertruck yet. What I am noticing in the 12.5 releases is the advancement, so much so that autonomy is really already there. It's just a matter of human intervention needed in certain scenarios that may play out in the complexity of traffic. And that's the thing I think that is going to be revealed this week. And hear me out, because I think this is the breaking news that everybody is not ready for. And of course, that is going to be talking about basically a cybercab type concept. And one of the things that Kathy Wood talks about, as well as others out there, but we've talked about this before, is what would it take to get Uber pretty much detached away from not only Uber as a auto ride-hailing service, but also as a food delivery service, and I'll explain that in a minute because that's where I think many of the revenue opportunities could come for Tesla. I want to play this clip with Kathy Wood. Let me share this for you guys and just let you listen into this real quick.
I'll tell you, when it comes, Tesla is giving us great comfort, believe it or not, because we've done the research. I don't think a lot of analysts have done the kind of research on autonomous mobility that we have. We have a longer investment time horizon. That's why we've done the research. As we get to Taxi Day, 1010, this week, next week, I think more and more people, analysts, are going to have to start modeling what this means. And I think as they do, they will conclude that this is a software as a service model with 80% gross margins plus on that side of the model, as opposed to 15 to 30% margins on the EV side. And they're going to have to adjust their...
Now, let me explain what she just said there, because this is where I think a lot of people get this wrong in understanding really what robotaxi is. The idea of autonomous is going to take not only society, but it's going to take the technology and a certain amount of AI integrations, possibly another decade of full autonomy, meaning we've got robot cars. What I do think, though, is going to be a cottage industry that is in between what we have now, which is mostly ride-hailing services that are not autonomous, but have a driver and that driver is pretty much crazy for the most part, if you've ever ridden in an Uber in some cases. But the key here is that it's a network that has a ridiculous amount of fees on it, and the reason is because of the way that Uber is put together. Now, what I think Tesla and really, I think what we're going to see out of Elon Musk companies when you consider XAI and what its involvement in this is, I think we're going to see a ride sharing service, possibly an autonomous ride sharing service that will have supervision. Simply meaning you got to remember that Tesla, if you look at some of their data, let me just kind of go into some of the delivery data. This is the delivery data right now on Tesla. And if you look at the last several years here, okay, let's go back to 2020 where they delivered about 500,000 cars. They almost cracked 1 million cars in 2021, which was a big year, of course. But the big years are yet to come. 1.3 million in 22, 1.8 million in 23. And my estimation right now, if you consider the almost 400,000, that we could see close to 1.4 to 1.6 to 1.9 million cars. But there could be a hidden caveat to that, and that is maybe what Tesla has in play for Cybercab. Now, what could Cybercab be? Could we see a large amount of production? I'm kind of curious as to whether or not that would be production for people to purchase these Cybercabs and run autonomous products out of them in the sense of full self-driving. So imagine a driver and the network. So let's just accumulate what we've seen here. Let's just go back into the last 5 years. So if you look at the last 5 years, 300,000, we'll call that 4. We'll call that 5. So we're almost at 1 million, almost 2 million, 3 million and 2, 4 million, and 2 plus the 8 is going to be almost 5 million cars on the road that I would say that have the capacity for full self-driving to be able to be downloaded and used in many of the new computers. 5 million cars on the road. And if you look at the capacity of how many drivers would sign up for that immediately instead of Uber to be able to do all sorts of delivery mechanisms and also the potential for what we'll see going forward. This was a video that I did in almost 4 years ago. And that's the kind of thing that we've been covering this. This was our forward indicators in 2020 when we were talking about this. And we were looking at 2024 as the potential here. And mainly what we were looking at was an autonomous fleet, though it might be having some self-supervisory roles, meaning someone's going to be there, that you'd need around 2 million vehicles to be able to supplant what our existing systems are right now, including ride-hailing services. And I think this is going to be pretty much a leapfrog over what Waymo is doing, et cetera. And this was the topic where I was talking about what the potential of revenue could be done just on the food delivery side, okay? Remember, the food delivery side is a large percentage of many of the cars on the road versus ride-hailing. Ride-hailing is still big, but it's not near as big as food delivery. So I think this is going to be a big one. Our estimates that would add somewhere in the range of 43 to 53 billion in revenue annually, all the way up to around 76 billion to 91 billion annually in added revenue. We think now, in looking at these data points, that this is so much further wrong. And the reason is that there has been a huge shift in the restaurant industry and food service industry because of the pandemic. And of course, part of that was getting all these restaurants ready for digital sales. And digital sales now is almost 40% of the industry. At the time when I recorded this video 4 years ago, it was not that high in terms of the opportunity. So if you look at this, I'll play a little bit of a clip from this one just to give you guys a nice insight. Actually, in added revenue to Tesla's bottom line, 2026, we'd go from about 76 to 91.4 billion in added revenue, depending on what percentage, and I'm talking a percentage of either 10% or 12%, which is kind of the happy. Let me explain the 10 to 12. So in the restaurant industry, there is a service fee that is mostly out there through Uber. Uber gets almost a third right now. So if you did see a large opportunity here for Tesla and possibly robotaxis, or in this particular case, supervised robotaxis, There's an opportunity, I think, there for anywhere between a 10 and 12% range of food service delivery, as well as autonomous vehicle delivery. So you've got all these opportunities. But remember, again, the fleet that could be turned on overnight because it's going into your Tesla app. You guys understand, if you're a Tesla owner, you understand the slickness of the app itself and how easily this could start rolling out into a full ride sharing and food or indoor delivery service going forward. So this was a video. If you guys want to check it out, go over to Paul Barron Network, and right there it is, called Tesla EV Robotaxi could take over food delivery. As I said, this was one that I did quite a while ago. Also did a big interview with a guy by the name of Ricky Roy, who he and I broke down the differences between what Waymo is doing and also what Tesla was doing. And again, this was 4 years ago when Ricky and I were really analyzing this. And one of the things that we looked at was the opportunity for consumers to actually accept the idea. And that was going to be one of the biggest challenges going forward. So that, I think, has started to take place. And the other compartment that needed to be filled was what we talked about in this video, which was Waymo versus Tesla in full self-driving cars. And you can go back and look at that also over on PBN. But the key thing was AI. And of course, with XAI, this is essentially where I think the new beta releases and the integration of what XAI is going to be doing on Tesla's involvement around full self-driving with supervised access, I think is a shift in the right direction, because what it's going to be doing is continuing to collect this insane amount of data. And when you think about the amount of data and just what's been looked at for Tesla in general, one of the things you have to kind of consider is what is going to be the next era of the vehicle. So the Tesla Model 2, whether you want to call it that, the predictions for what we'll see, remember that there is a possibility here where we could see either a cybercab, a robotaxi, whatever you want to call it, or a Model 2, or a version of a vehicle that could go into production. And I want you to think about this. I know the Cybertruck was slow in coming out, but the fact that they have been able to scale something like that so quickly, so they had that as a ramp to be able to really see if they could build these kinds of vehicles. The other thing I think is the community and the manufacturing prowess that Tesla has now in Texas. This could change the dynamic of how they go to market with new builds. And of course, that's what they're talking about in this article right here. So in Deepwater Note, this was Munster and Baker. They were talking about likely focus on vehicles nearing production for the event, but teasing upcoming products like Cybervan, Optimus, and then the Tesla Model 2 production start date, or the RoboCab, Cybercab, whatever Elon's going to end up calling this one. That, I think, is the key factor here. Again, ability to manufacture, the capacity of a large network flowing in to the market, and being able to turn this on almost immediately is going to be an unbelievable powerhouse. And I think it does destroy Uber. That's right. The Uber replacement, I believe, is now here. And it may be through FSD with drivers and a network that rides on the Tesla ecosystem. So there's a lot there. Kathy Wood kind of mentioned it a little bit there, but robotaxi commercial introduction could be late 2025 or 2026. This, of course, coming from Morgan Stanley. And one of the things they kind of hit on here with Tesla robotaxi is possibly just the unveil date. So if we do get that, and 2025 is coming, and we have the opportunity of truly seeing a Model 2, or we see the opportunity of Tesla drivers today being able to take that next step in a supervised FSD role, I think that's a big one. Now, there's still naysayers out there, since this, of course, is Forbes. Tesla has no robotaxi. Just what will they show on a structure of the Tesla automotive manufacturing? So why wouldn't people want to be part of that network if you could get a lot less fees. Imagine every Uber driver out there would have to go and want to buy a Tesla. That would just be the natural evolution. So the opportunity is pretty huge. And we've done a lot of videos on Uber and why they potentially could be failing, mainly because of the driver issue. And the big part of it, of course, is the pay infrastructure. I think all of that is going to change big time. Robotaxi are here. The question is, the public, are they divided? And I think that's the real question, is whether or not we're going to see the acceptance of that. Waymo has been kind of, I think, very slow to react in terms of consumer acceptance, but I think it's been more around the technology and the amount of cars that they could be able to roll out quickly. FSD, if Elon gets this down, remember it's $99 a month right now as a non-FSD owner. And I think the Cybertruck just now went down to $7,000, so you can get the Cybertruck with 8,000. And most vehicles now, you've seen prices down as low as 3,000. So there's variations on FSD that could make a lot of these vehicles much more attractive to potential buyers and so on. I want to go into this one right here. This was a tweet, but there's a nice clip here. I want to play a few minutes of it. And the script is, this is coming in really from an analyst that's been tracking this for quite some time. The script is going to be flipped next week when Elon introduces Tesla robotaxi and things are operating in real world. Here's the clip. Let me play it for you.
This week, OpenAI eclipsing xAI in the fundraising race in artificial intelligence, raising $6.6 billion, surpassing the $6 billion that was just raised by Elon Musk's xAI back in May. Joining us right now to discuss what is turning out to be quite the AI tech race and so much more is Walter Isaacson. He is the author of Elon Musk. He's also Perella Weinberg advisor, partner, a Tulane professor, and importantly, a CNBC contributor. It's nice to see you.
And friend of Andrew. Yeah.
And I'm very happy to say.
And Becky.
And friend of Squawks.
Friend of Bill.
Walter, what do you make of this race, where you see OpenAI, which seems to be clearly, I think, in the lead relative to everybody else, but you may think that everybody's very, very close to each other. And then xAI, which, by the way, at least by my eyes, has actually caught up or gotten very close very, very quickly.
Yes, xAI has caught up very much, and I saw Musk and Sam Altman together about a week ago. And there's, of course, a little bit of, a large bit of tension that goes back 4 or 5 years when they both started OpenAI, and now Sam is taking OpenAI and making it no longer open and no longer not-for-profit. And also telling people, if you invest in us, we don't want you to invest in others. What will be interesting is the script getting flipped a bit next week, October 10th, when Elon introduces robotaxi and things that operate in the real world. When Musk bought Twitter, he got this huge data feed of a billion tweets a day. When he has Tesla, he has 1 billion frames from cars every day. That's the data, the big thing you need.
All right, so the point that Isaacson is getting on right there, I think, is the killer app of Tesla, is they have data input that essentially is human-led but not human-delivered. And that, to me, and it's data input they have access to for their AI models. AI, almost every AI model out there does not have that. So the potential for just the Tesla model in terms of driving input, this will be so massive around logistics, which is the killer app of Uber. This, I think, is the potential for xAI to really kind of accelerate within it. And imagine the amount of human data that you could get if you started to splinter services off of what we might know as a supervised FSD service or a software as a service, as Kathy Wood's kind of talking to. That's the kind of thing that we could be facing right now. So I think the model is now in place, and we are in a position where there could be critical mass overnight. And what I mean by that is this right here. Tesla has over 5 million vehicles fitted with FSD hardware and software on the road today, driving an estimated of about 50 billion miles per year. That's 100,000 miles per minute. Just take that in for a second. 100,000 miles per minute. This is an ongoing data collection, gives Tesla a massive advantage over competitors developing an end-to-end neural net self-driving stack. I don't think anybody catches them. I think they're absolutely untouchable in the automotive space, and I think this only enhances their ability to become almost the everything app when you combine xAI, Tesla, SpaceX and everything they're doing with Starlink and so on, this to me just makes Tesla an unstoppable force going forward. Now, you look at the sales numbers and where the inventory is on the current Tesla vehicles, and I'll share this. This, of course, kind of shows, remember that a lot of the Tesla Model 3s, they had the 1.99 toward the end of Q3, trying to make those numbers. They were slightly off on the numbers, but the advancement was still over last year's performance in terms of numbers. But if you look at the Model Y, which I believe is still one of the bigger ones, but I think Model 3 is the one to really keep a close eye on. That's the big pink line right here. Inventory was falling quite a bit. And here, of course, when they pulled off the 199, inventory spiked back up. My estimate is that we're going to see some potential inventory opportunities for Tesla Model 3 and Model Y. Whether we see anything on X and S, I don't think so, because X and S is, even though S is still continuing to decline in terms of inventory, there's still demand on that vehicle by a long shot. But I think the Model 3 is going to be the car for the immediate future that could be utilized in these services, especially in these autonomous services going forward. So huge stuff out there. If you look at the stock right now, just to do a quick stock analysis, and just where we have gone since, let's go back here to Monday or August 5th, and we'll get the current run from August 5th to where we are just today, up about 34%. So literally a month ago, 34% right now, and that's not even high, even though we do have some order blocks coming in right about here. I think Tesla's announcement could be so mind-boggling that this right here is going to be highly underperforming its potential here. Now, remember, this is the short-term high right here. It's been that top around 260, 270 for the last few months as an opportunity. And if you go to the long-term weekly chart, just to give you Tesla right here, these are zones which are very consistent with this potential right here at 300 bucks. That's a psychological number, I think, in terms of Tesla. But I'm still looking at the potential here of around 350 to 360 in this target zone, all the way up to where this high was around 408. The announcement and the rollout is going to be critical over the next couple of years. I think this is a long-term play that we are going to be tracking in a big, big way. So if you guys aren't following me on the Barron Market Update, you can go over to Paul Barron Network and just catch a lot more of our shows over there, where we talk a lot more about crypto, the tech on Web3, AI quite a bit, and of course this channel gets into more market updates and also just future tech, which is really my passion. So we're trying to build this second channel. You guys make sure and check that out, and we'll catch you next time right here on the Barron Market Update.